I'm looking for a man in finance. Trust fund. 6'5", blue eyes. This is a crazy viral clip that's going on right now. And so I'm thinking about going to Turkey and getting leg lengthening surgery and to dye my eyes blue. Actually, there's a surgery where you can go and do that. So maybe I'll change my hazel eyes to blue eyes, and then I'll get leg lengthening surgery, and then perfect. Luckily, I'm already rich, so I'm going to be her perfect candidate. Well, this is a bit mad, isn't it, lads? Let's talk about the unrealistic dating expectations in today's world. I think it happens on both sides. I think both men are unrealistic with their dating, but I think more so women are unrealistic in terms of their dating expectations. Now, this classic looking for a man in finance girl who's gone absolutely viral has laid out some very interesting thought processes for us in the dating world. And so I really want to sort of break this down for you and get you to understand what's happening in our modern dating world, right? These unrealistic expectations that women have of men that are a certain height, that are a certain athletic ability, that have a certain type of appearance, that have a certain color eyes, that have a certain level of income, that have a certain luxury lifestyle, that drive a certain car, that have a certain level of social status, have a certain level of followers on Instagram. I mean, this shit is just wild. Because when you actually look at the statistics, I remember there was a study done in America which worked out how many men are 6 foot, earn 6 figures, and are single in America. And I believe the answer was less than 1% of the population. So out of 330 million people, there are less than 1%. I think the answer was around 0.7 or 0.6% of the population were 6 foot and above, were earning a 6-figure income, which these days in America isn't even that abnormal. It's quite common actually, because salaries there are so much higher than they are in Europe and around the rest of the world. And the man that was actually single, he was available, he was on the market, and he was ready to get snapped up. And you're talking about 0.6 to 0.7% of the population. That is tiny, absolutely tiny. So what does that tell you about some of these women? And, you know, the woman that did that skit, that viral video, she's not exactly a cracker. But what you're finding is that women of all looks, shapes, and sizes are having these sorts of expectations. Now, you've got like 250-pound OnlyFans woman who's, I don't know, some plus-size model, apparently, who also wants a guy in finance who's 6'5", has a trust fund, and has blue eyes. But she's got a serious amount of competition, right, against all those other women. So what's now happening is this 250-pound OnlyFans model, plus-size model, is turning down other good men in order to wait for this so-called dream man that's going to come along, who's 0.6% of the American population. So the chances of you finding him are very slim, my darling, unless you are absolutely stunning and you are already, and you're some woman who has built a team to go and find this guy. Like, that's how complicated it actually is going to become. You literally need to find a way to locate this man across America, and it's not going to be easy. It's not just a bunch of filtering on dating apps that are going to get you there. So, I just want to talk about the unrealistic expectations, and there's a real trend. And I think the things that have really, done damage to us is the presence of social media. And I always talk about this. I always talk about the influence of social media and what dating apps have done to us by showcasing kind of these like idealized lifestyles and idealized type men. So the top end of men, the models and the best looking guys, and actually you'll see on my YouTube, there's a bunch of different comments that keep talking about the same thing. And they keep saying, some guy wrote yesterday, your personality equals your looks. So he was like, oh, it doesn't really matter about your personality. As long as you're good looking, then the rest is going to kind of fall into place. So there's a lot of these kind of black pill people actually on my YouTube and in and around the internet that are all saying, oh, whatever, you need to be amazing looking. It's not even worth it. I've given up. And the reason why they're giving up is because of the things that I'm talking about. It's because of the clear, unrealistic expectations. Now, I don't think it's necessarily wrong for women to have a certain type of idealization of the type of man that they want, because biologically, and this is called sort of tribal caveman nature. Biologically, the tallest is the one who is more likely to protect you. The one who has the most amount of resources and wealth is more likely to protect you and keep you out of harm's way, and more likely to serve your offspring better, send them to good schools. If he's tall, then it's likely that your offspring will be tall. And there's this kind of genetic predisposition to want men who are tall and who are built and who can protect you and who have the resources that can also protect you financially. Every woman wants the financial resources and the financial support. So I don't necessarily think it's wrong for women to have those expectations. However, it's just simply gone too far in modern society. It's gone way too far, and they're not going to find these kind of men. So what will they be left with? Hopefully the good men. Will that be good enough for them? Will they give their good men a hard time? It's likely to be the case, especially if these good men are not trained in the art of masculine frame and having some game and understanding female nature. That's your risk right there, buddy. If you don't know how to play these games, and I wouldn't call them games. Masculinity is not a game. Masculinity is an art form, a science, sheer, masculinity is the essence of leadership and success, okay? So I don't want you guys to focus too much on on this woman talking about a guy who's 6'5" and who's tall and who's handsome and who's got a trust fund. Don't let that get the better of you, okay? Now, although a lot of it might be true, okay, we can admit that because the black pill community is like, oh, you need to be tall, you need to be white, you need to be rich. It definitely helps. And yes, you will have a larger dating pool, right? You just simply will. But when you look at the statistics of how many of these men actually exist, you will realize, wait a minute, there's not many of these guys. So how the hell is she going to find this dude? So your competition isn't actually that stiff, my friend. Your competition really isn't as difficult as you think it is. If everyone in America was 6'5", had blue eyes and had a trust fund, you'd be in serious trouble. But luckily that's not the case. And because it's less than 1%, then you don't have to work that hard to get into the top 10%, right? And I've said this in videos in the past. You're not trying to date Gisele Bundchen, whatever her name is, the Tom Brady's ex-wife. You're just trying to date a good, beautiful woman who's loyal and who treats you well. It doesn't have to be the top model, because to get the top model, then yes, you probably do need that level of social status. You actually do, okay? So, what else can we do here? And what are some of the things we could say to men and the impact it's going to have on your self-esteem? Okay, because I worry about your self-esteem and I worry about you taking this stuff a little bit too seriously. Now, interesting, because men don't have unrealistic expectations of women. Men would like to have those expectations, but in generally men end up with a woman that I see a lot of men settling. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that. They settle for a woman who's maybe not the best looking woman that they thought they could have got, but she is actually a wonderful person and she's a good mother. And those are the things you're looking for. A feminine, wonderful woman. Now, whatever happened to a woman liking an ambitious, strong, romantic, loyal, masculine, fit man? Is that not enough? Is that really not enough in today's society? I can certainly tell you that, in my opinion, it is enough, but for a certain level of woman. So don't expect to get the cream of the crop, as we call it in the UK. Cream of the crop is always like the best, okay? The best on the market. Don't expect to get the best on the market if you are not the best in the market. That's just how these things work. So, forget some of these old romantic films that we all watch. that portray, like Titanic, the guy's broke, but she falls in love with him. Yeah, that's great. But if it wasn't Titanic and if it was actually real life and they met in New York, then she wouldn't give up her life for this man. She wouldn't give up her life for the poor version that she just so happens to fall in love with, because she'll be like, well, he can't offer me the support. So she's likely to go with someone who is at her level of wealth and her level of status. Okay, that's a given, and society's always been like that. And interestingly, men don't really have the same sort of expectations of women, right? Men seem to be a little bit more innocent on this behalf. They're like, oh, I'll go for the hot girl. If I don't get it, I'll kind of just settle for what I get. Now, is that going to be the same for women? And I predict the answer is yes, it is. So once they realize that they actually can't get this tall, fascinating, high status, rich guy because he's too busy hitting on 22-year-old models, and this girl's now 30, and sorry, 30 is too late. This is why Leonardo DiCaprio, there was such a backlash against him. Like, oh, he only goes for girls 22 to 23. What a scumbag. Not really. He's Leonardo DiCaprio. He can go for whoever the bloody hell he wants. If he wants a 22-year-old girl, then so be it. So this is what you're just going to find in modern day. And are there things you could do about it? Yes, of course there are things you can do about it, which is why you listen to me. Okay. My channel is not like Wheat Waffles Black Pill channel, which is like, you need to be this tall and look like this, otherwise you're in trouble and you should just forget about it. No, a lot of the stuff that I talk about is solutions to the problem. Okay. So what are some of the solutions to this? If you feel like women have high expectations and you're not getting results. Leg lengthening surgery. I don't recommend leg lengthening surgery. Okay, I just don't. I don't see, look, if you have the money and you're really short and you're really struggling and you see no way out and you're literally suicidal, then you're probably just going to go ahead and do the limb lengthening surgery. My only problem with that is there isn't enough research into it. It's quite a new practice. And so if you go and do it and something goes wrong, the rest of your life is going to be a real misery and you'd wish you'd never done it. So I'm not going to put that high up in my recommendations list, although I do know many people are going to go and do that. But if you're that self-conscious about your height and your looks, and you get that surgery, you will continue to be self-conscious and you will continue to do things to make yourself look better and better. And that isn't always good. That's a cyclical trap that you'll be stuck in. So I would definitely reduce social media intake. I think that's one of the hardest challenges in today's world. Reducing your social media intake and not being so trapped within social media, because otherwise all you do is you just listen to girls like this doing viral songs, looking at handsome men who have the lifestyle and who have the money, and then you end up feeling like shit about yourself. So that's not really helpful. So definitely reduce social media intake and spend more time actually working on yourself. Now, I would say you want to keep looks maximizing. Like today, I gave my beard a nice little cut, as you can see. Always buying new clothes, always buying new fun accessories, keeping my hair relatively trim. I was actually losing hair. I was receding hair just there. And then I started to use minoxidil, Regain. And I've been using that for about 2 months now. And as you can see, it's starting to grow back, all right? This patch was balding, and so was it here. And now you can see that it's filled back out. So I am constantly looks maxing as a guy, and as you should, right? I was at the gym today, I was at the spa, making sure my body's in order, making sure my hair's not falling out, making sure my beard is trimmed nicely. And this is the sort of perfect 10-day stubble, making sure I've got cool accessories. You can do things to constantly make yourself look cool and to be looks maxing. So you want to be doing that on a consistent basis. And the other thing is, you could change country. I know this is going to sound absurd, but you could change country. You see, for some men, some countries are going to be easier than others to obtain beautiful women. Now, I know that some of the recommendations are, if you are a short dude, then you want to go to countries where the women are shorter. So for example, if you're 5'2", then you should go to Asia. And then you could meet Asian women in Thailand, in Philippines. and anywhere sort of in the Far East. So that would make more sense for you. Now, you don't want to go to Amsterdam or Holland if you're a short guy, because that is the tallest nation on the planet. So everyone is going to tower you, and you're not going to stand a chance. You're literally going to have to find the shortest woman in Holland. So there you go. So sort of like being in certain countries will affect how people act towards you. Okay. So those are some of the things you could do. Now, I hope this has been clear. I hope I've given you some sort of reality check about these unrealistic expectations that women actually have. I think women will say this, and then when they don't find that person, they'll end up just settling for a guy. I think this is going to be a little bit dangerous, because maybe women will settle, and if they do settle, does that mean that they will cheat on the side with that guy that they always thought that they always wanted? So that's the fear. So I do fear the direction that society is going in, but what I can control is me as a man and my reaction and my masculine frame. And that's what I'm trying to instill into you, my friends. So I hope this has been useful, and I hope you're taking something from these sorts of viral videos you're hearing from women. This is the way society is heading, unfortunately. Instagram, reality TV shows, magazines, movies, they've always portrayed the best, tallest, best looking people with blue or green eyes and super handsome. They've always portrayed that because people want to look at pretty people. But the only problem now is that because we have Instagram and because it's in our face all the time, and you can see what people are up to all the time, and when you click on the explore page, all you see is handsome women and handsome men, depending on what you're searching, then you're just going to be, obliterated with all of these images, and it's going to do a lot of damage to your self-esteem and ego. So less social media, more working on your looks, more of an understanding of female nature and what they're looking for. And if 0.6% of America is trust fund, works in finance, 6'5", blue eyes, I love the way she says blue eyes, then you definitely stand a chance, my friend, because the chance of her finding that guy is so unbelievably slim. It's less than 1%. Here, darling, you got a 0.6% chance of finding this guy. Good luck. And your 0.6% chance of finding this guy will be 0.6% if you're also absolutely gorgeous, you're a 22-year-old stunning model. Then your chance is 0.6%. But if you're not a good-looking girl and you can't compete with the models, then guess what? Your chance is less than 0.6%. So, my friends, despite the fact that we've heard this viral video, that is the true essence of the situation. And you can definitely compete, because she is very unlikely to find that guy. Very extremely unlikely, unless she is, like I said, a model and on Instagram and has millions of followers. Then she could probably find that guy, because then he'll be more likely to be attracted to her because she's young and she's beautiful. So there you go. Definitely hope. And, I will... Please share this and like this and share it with people that need to hear it within the community. And this is not a black pill channel. This is a channel that does touch on black pill ideologies. But ultimately, given that I have been improving myself since the dawn of time and seeing results, it just goes to show that anyone can do it. Anyone can look smacks. Anyone can become successful. Anyone can raise their status. It will take time, but you can just get better and better and better. And that is our job as men, to keep improving. All right, my bros. I'll see you in the next video.